Good evening and welcome to another edition of The Probe. There's a wise saying that goes like this: sanitation and cleanliness are among the humblest of the civic virtues, and it's easy to underestimate their significance. In our country, Ghana, today, we are on a quest to becoming the cleanest in the hub. However, it is not in doubt that even the sea is pleading to be cleaned. How much more our immediate environment? Well, Operation Clean Your Frontage is here, and a task force has been commissioned to do so. As a country, we have had the Tankase, the Saman, I'm sure you remember them. How about the Ahana Obejunso campaign against open urination? One time there was a ministry in charge of beautifying the capital. What happened to it? How about the campaign against open urination? Some have said we need one of such campaigns for those drivers who just spit anyhow as well. Can the Greater Accra region, the second most expensive city in the world, the smallest of Ghana's 16 administrative regions, second most populated region after the Ashanti region, most urbanized in the country, become the cleanest in Africa? Could the Let's Make Accra Work agenda and now Operation Clean Your Frontage be the game changer? Tonight, the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Quartey, is on The Probe to take all your questions. We are live on the JoyNews channel, also on Joy Prime, Joy 99.7 FM, that's for our radio audience, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and over 30 affiliates across the country. We're on myjoyonline.com, and on DSTV is channel 421, GoTV 144. A quick turnaround, and we get talking with the Greater Accra Regional Minister. Please stay. Welcome back, and many thanks, sir, for your company here on The Probe. Tonight, my guest is the Greater Accra Regional Minister. Operation Clean Your Frontage and Let's Make Greater Accra Work is the agenda on the table tonight. And thankfully, Mr. Henry Quartey is in the studios with us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you very much for your time here tonight. A lot of things has been happening. You've been quite busy from MMDC confirmation, and then launching Operation Clean Your Frontage. We'll start from the MMDCs. How did it go?
Well, first of all, let me say a very good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners. And thank you for the opportunity to be on your program. Well, as per the Act 936, Mr. President is supposed to nominate people to represent him at the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies, and so he exercised that right. And in Greater Accra, we have 29 MMDAs, and so as we speak, we have been able to confirm 27 out of the 29.
Okay.
One was rejected. One is still pending for us to go and do. So that's where we are. But,
what reasons have been given for those?
Well, the assembly members never gives you any reasons, do they?
But it turns out everywhere you go, there's 100% confirmation. Didn't you go to these areas?
By the grace of God, we had about 80% of, well, let me say between 70 to 80% of 100%. And then some 90%, and some 70-something. But it is what it is. You know, it can't be win-win-win every day. So we have to embrace ourselves for some of these things, and we are okay with it. I mean, it communicates that the democracy is really working. You know, so it doesn't look like we're having a free ride and we're getting handed everywhere. The assembly members have spoken. They've rejected Mr. President's nominee. It's now a decision for Mr. President to re-nominate him or do otherwise. So we wait patiently for Mr. President's directives on that.
Okay. What was the secret behind the performance in terms of the confirmations and nominations? Well,
I think that I need to thank all and sundry, your good selves in the media, and also, more importantly, the assembly members of the various MMDAs. They really demonstrated love.
Were they induced?
Oh, not at all. Not at all. I mean, we had to actually speak to them to let them understand the need, why they needed to actually confirm Mr. President's nominee. And let me use this opportunity to express our profound gratitude and appreciation to the members of Parliament in Greater Accra on the other side of the political divide. Indeed, when the names came up or were mentioned, or rather announced, I engaged them. And they gave me the assurances that we were going to work together. And indeed, they walked their talk.
Okay.
So the caucus chair for the Greater Accra Parliamentary Caucus on the other side of the political divide is my good friend and brother, Honorable Neil Antevanderpoy. The secretary is my good brother who has become the hero, Honorable Sam George. Let me use this opportunity to thank them for the cooperation and collaboration that I enjoyed during the confirmation of the MMDCs. You know.
He's become a hero. What he's fighting for, are you in support of it? I'm sure he's been supporting you. Is it time for you also to support him?
Well, it's a matter in Parliament. It's a matter in Parliament, and usually these things Parliament decides. So we leave it.
But personally, you don't hold a view on LGBT?
Well, I really don't want to speak to that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it turns out you didn't want to be regional minister after all.
The president let the cat out of the bag.
Why?
Well, nothing. I just thought that, I was then the deputy minister for national security. And naturally, I love being in the security, not sector, but areas, I'll say. So I was hoping that I was going to be maintained there. So when Mr. President called me, I said, oh, Mr. President, I thought that you were going to leave me there. And he said, no, this is what I have for you. So, I'm here to serve. So it's not what I want, but the president is the coach. He has a formula, and he knows which player to play a particular role to suit the game plan that he has. So he said, regional minister, I said, yes, sir. And then here we are.
You are. Okay, so make Greater Accra work. Is Greater Accra working? Was one of your very first push to make Greater Accra work. As it stands now, months, weeks down the line, is Greater Accra working?
Well, I think that it would be difficult for me to do my own appraisal and then rate myself with the greatest of respect, but perhaps I should be asking you. You are in the media space, you speak to people, you interview people, you get comments and suggestions from the general public and the world at large. If you ask me, I would say that change is a very challenging topic and matter. And so for one to be able to succeed in bringing change where there's a strong attitudinal and behavioral issues, you don't get to do it in a day. That's why they said that Rome was not built in a day. Yes, I can say that there's an awakening call, rather. People all of a sudden are becoming conscious of their environment. And so I'm happy that that signal is gone. And I know that if we all put our heads together, because I cannot do it alone. I definitely can't do it alone. I need all. That's why I keep saying it's a clarion call. If we all come on board, we will see the kind of success that we want to see. We will see the clean Accra that we want to. So yes, I'll say the signs are good and it's improving every day.
Okay.
With the logistics and the needed support and the, as I said, attitudinal, behavioral change, I pray that we are able to get there.
I'll put a quick hold on that because it brings us then to Operation Clean Your Frontage because that's the next operation we are looking at with the new sanitation bylaws, amongst others. But you were also in the news recently. Some MMDCs you had mentioned were under declaring their IGF. But it appears you just mentioned it. Is anything going to happen to these MMDCs? Why aren't you mentioning them? Why are you just condoning their acts?
I didn't make an emphatic statement. I did say that for a place like the AMA, where you have thousands of people trading there, I found it very interesting that they are not able to improve upon, or rather meet their targets in the internally generated, if you like, funding, the IGF. And so I charged them because per the report that was brought on the budget hearing, Clearly, they had dropped from about 46-point-something% to 37%. So, indeed, I mean, from a layman's point of view, they have not been able to meet their target.
Are you looking into that?
We have charged them to put mechanisms in place to, as it were, be able to reach their targets, come up with innovations that will be able to, for instance, I mean, I know that property rates and all that, I don't know whether they have a good mechanisms of going to, as it were, collect property rates. So in short is to encourage them to put in place some plans, then they are able to, as it were, maximize their IGF.
Okay. Yeah. We have loads and loads of questions we'll get into, but is there a plan to change the name Greater Accra to Gadangbe, as the chiefs have been asking for?
I am only a mosquito. I'm a mosquito. And this is a policy matter for Mr. President and Cabinet to speak to. You know, for something like this to come on, it has to go through series of consultations. You know, there has to be wider stakeholder consultations. You look at the financial aspect of it and all that. So it's a big deal. And I am only a servant of the region.
You endorse
I'm aware that the Greater Accra, no, the government chair, Ni Taki Tekuchu, made a request to the president on the day we paid a courtesy call to him. And then the president of the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs, Nene Animle, also reiterated the same point or position when Mr. President paid a courtesy call to him. So yes, Mr. President has told them he'll be looking into it. So I think I want to leave it there.
You endorse it?
Well, who am I? I mean...
You are the Greater Accra Regional
I'm
Minister.
the Greater Accra Regional Minister. I'm the servant of the people. The President is the #1 gentleman of the country, and he has got cabinet ministers. As I said, he has to go through a series of consultations, and then if the people say yes, well, that's another thing.
Well, let's get into the questions. I've had my take at this point. First batch, we have Sami on Twitter. He says, how is he going to make sure that the implementation agencies to perform their duties? It is because that should not only focus on the citizens, he says. And this man has a positive spirit in putting the various agencies under him in check. If you know of how MMDCs were always on their feet to get right and accurate data for submission and inspection just a day after Green Ghana Day, you will just love him and support. The ministry alone is performing better than the entire Nanado-led administration.
No.
Ghana, that's also on Twitter, he says.
No.
And Nimati says, hope this is not a one-day wonder. Remember the cleanup exercise on Saturdays at the beginning of the month. Please get the chiefs and the other organizations on board, and we can make Ghana clean again. So it brings us into why Operation Clean Your Frontage.
Well, if you recall, during my vetting, I did hint at the chairman of the vetting committee that then, if the committee and the plenary were to approve of my nomination and appointment, one of the things that I was going to do was to come up with this agenda of Let's Make Accra Work agenda, which is hinges on 5 pillars: security, education, sanitation, discipline and order, and health as well. Under the discipline and order, what I call the war against indiscipline, we have started, as you know already, done some decongestions here and there, maybe some abolishing issues here and there. But I noticed that we needed to be a bit strong on the bylaws, or rather the existing laws that guides the MMDAs. Now, in order to do that, Operation Clean Your Frontage is not something new that we have invented. I know that they used to be around somewhere. So we needed to look at it again. And as I speak with you, we have been able to get all the 29 assemblies, pass it, It's been gazetted, and so now it is a bylaw in Greater Accra. Yes, the idea, as I said earlier on, was to, we noticed that businesses, landlords, households were not paying too much attention to their immediate environment and their frontage. It's all like, okay, the place is dirty, gutters are choked, where is the assemblyman? You know, and when you go to other jurisdictions, it is not like that. So this bylaw is just to get everybody involved and responsible. Hitherto, we used to have the saman. Yeah, you remember those days when we were growing. They come to your house, they dip a stick in your water to see how hygienic it is and all that. So we're bringing them back. And it is to check everybody, for all of us to know that, hey, cleanliness, they say, is next to godliness. And we have to start from somewhere. I know that the waste management companies have got the logistics, they have the men, but supervision hasn't been the best, and the monitoring. So this whole bylaw is very detailed, and we have areas to ensure strict compliance and implementation, and then the monitoring and supervision as well.
Okay, so that's when Samir is asking how you're hoping that the implementation agencies too will perform their duties. Because in the past we had Sama amongst others. Today they are not with us. We know we commissioned a task force, we'll talk about it. But how you're hoping that these agencies will also perform their duties? It
is going to be a serious business because hitherto, for instance, you have 4 assemblies using 1 compaction truck. As we speak now, under Operation Clean Your Frontage, each assembly gets a minimum of 1 compaction truck. For instance, if you have a place like the AMA, with Kaneshi, Agbogloshi, Yam, Konkumba Market, Timber Market, Mokola, Okanshi, with 1 compaction truck, certainly you are going to fail. So under this exercise, they are likely to get like 4 or 5 compaction trucks. That's what we want to do it. So there's a formula to distribute the compaction trucks. So each assembly gets 1 compaction truck, and I'm sure you heard me when I read my speech at the Independence Square that we are going to train over 3,000 people. And these people, when they pass out, will be deployed to the MMDAs. And then they will have supervisors, unlike the previous times, who will be monitoring. We are also going to have a call center where people will make calls to, take pictures and send real time. Once that is done, and then where the location is, then the task force will go and deal with it. Okay. We are also looking at rubbish being collected in the evening this time rather than during the day. So it's very detailed, you know.
But you know, previously, the rubbish will be there. The time they're supposed to come, they never come. That will change?
That is why the supervisors are going to come on board. And so these supervisors are not working for the waste management companies like it used to be. You cannot be your own judge and jury. So there's going to be a whole secretariat with independent people to put pressure on the waste management companies. And I've already told them, if you fail to perform, well, we have to get a local government minister to look at your contract again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've been taking a look at the bylaws, for instance, and for public and private office buildings, for instance, an occupier of the public or private shall be responsible and ensure that the frontage of the building and drains up to the middle of the road is always clean. Let's take, for instance, JoyNews. Up to what point are you expecting that?
So we're saying that in the middle of the streets. We're saying that because if we are not careful, somebody says, oh, okay, you can do the rubbish and put it in the middle of the street and say, I'm not responsible for it. That is not to say that assemblies will not be doing their the silting and all that. So it's a joint type of hands-on. But Joy, multimedia should be responsible for its frontage and its immediate environment, and that we will not take lightly too.
Okay.
Because the task force and implementing agencies will go around. And if we find it, we issue a summons to you.
And I see that the penalties, for instance, when you fail to provide standard container for refuse storage as prescribed by the Assembly, first I would want to find out, am I supposed to be responsible for getting that storage container?
So, as part of the Operation Clean Your Frontage, every household will be given a dustbin. But the standard there is defined. It's defined in such a way that, excuse my language, my mother around Nima may not be able to afford the dustbin. So it is, when we say standard that is agreed between the assembly and the person. It can be a basket, but so long as it conforms with what we want, there should be a bin liner in it so that the waste management companies are able to lift the rubbish. So, and the bins are supposed to come to you more or less free, because nobody is supposed to pay cash before getting the bin. But as the rubbish is collected, you keep paying, and then the payments are kind of embedded in it. You know.
We've seen previously how these bins are distributed. It never gets to the people who are supposed to get it. This time you're saying that that will not be the case.
Well, I keep singing the song. Yesterday is gone. Another day has come. Do something new. So yesterday is gone. Today is another day. We pray and we believe that we'll be able to do something new.
Well, interestingly, Mimate is tweeting with the hashtag Ask the Minister. Hope this is not a one-day wonder. Remember the cleanup exercise on Saturdays in the beginning of the month. Please get the chiefs and other organizations on board and we can make Ghana clean again.
Advice well taken. But just to add to it, that so far, by the grace of God, I've demonstrated to the good people of this country and also the Greater Accra region that by the grace of God, I walk my talk. Now, the Saturday cleanup, I don't know whether it had all the arrangements that we are putting in place now. Now we have a bylaw. You saw the logistics that were displayed at the Independence Square yesterday. We have got procured pickups and all that the task force will be using to go around. We are coming up with sanitation informants. So all these things were not there. They were not there, you know.
Sanitation informants will be amongst us within the community.
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't know them. So they will take pictures and say, we saw Mr. So and so this morning. So it goes to the call center. And then we are able to pick you up. And then the informants, since they are informants, they get rewarded.
Let's talk about the task force. What is the makeup?
The task force, they are being recruited from their various MMDAs. The reasons be that you don't want to recruit somebody from, say, Ashaiman to come and work in Ayawaso Central. Okay. So it will be local. They recruited from there. And this is non-political. We want the youth in the respective MMDAs to, it's also creating jobs for them. And they are familiar with the terrain. They don't have to ride, board cars to go to another place to work. So we recruit now over 3,000 of them. And as I said, we want them to undergo very rigorous and serious training. So they come up with their psyche well shaped. We don't want the type of task force that goes to market and collect people's onions and take them home. That's not going to happen. We find you, you're off.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it has to be serious business.
But so we don't have members of the security agencies, for instance, as part of it. It's just people from the assembly that we've trained. Okay.
The police will not be doing this. I mean, this is a task force. I mean, all the assemblies, they have got that facility. I mean, that arrangements to have a task force. Yeah, so that's what we are doing. We just want to improve upon it. We give that to, respectfully, you know, people just get around and they are members of task force. And their operations are not regulated. Their operations are not checked. This time around, we
they tend to abuse it.
Well, it depends. But this time around, we want to have a task force that is well structured, well monitored, central, from the central point, and also the MMDA. So it will be very beautiful, I can assure you. Well,
the penalties. I've been looking at the penalties. So a person who contravenes this bylaw commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine not less than 100 penalty units and more than 250 penalty units, or a term of imprisonment of not less than 6 months and not more than 12 months, or both fine and imprisonment.
This is not something that we are inventing. It's already there.
Okay.
It's already there, so we just had to extract it. But the idea is to try and get the courts to do more community or communal sentence than, either than that. I said that in my statement. We'll have all the cells congested in no time. So certainly we'll look at that. It's not going to be too stringent, you know. Yeah, we'll look at that.
Okay.
People have to take it serious. they have to take it serious.
Well, let's get into the next batch of questions. I'm sure we'll stay on WhatsApp at this time. Elom says, please ask the minister to clarify what must be kept away from our frontage. Rubbish, bushy grass, leftover construction materials like concrete or broken glass, etc. What exactly should not be at your frontage?
I think he just answered his own question.
We'll get to it. And then Ifia says, please ask the minister, when will we finally get rid of these slow-moving abubuyas from our highways? It has become a nuisance, especially for those carrying refuse without proper coverings. They are causing accidents. That's from Ifia. And Lizzie says, plaudits to the minister for getting these new bylaws passed and gazetted. Can he explain the scope of these bylaws? We've been getting into some of them. Nato, she says, what will the role of the assemblies be in supporting businesses and individuals to achieve this goal? Is the government going to support with the necessary logistics? That's the question. And Gaddafi says, have we trained the officers to be involved in this project properly so that they do not turn this into an avenue to abuse and harass people and demand bribes? What will be the level of supervision? And that's from Gaddafi. So maybe we'll start with Elom's question. So he's asking, what exactly will it be? Is it just rubbish? Or when you have grass in front, it's also not clean, or that's clean? Or when you have leftover construction materials like concrete, is that also?
With the greatest of respect, I think he's answered the questions himself. Right? Because Operation Clean Your Frontage and then greening.
You have to green as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting a forestry commission to give seedlings through the assemblies. So all those things will be provided. And then if you need
But that's assuming that we all have lands in front of our buildings, or
that is we encourage as practically possible that if you have that space, turn it into greens, you know. As for the others, I think he said it all. Rubbish, choked gutters, this, that. I mean, it's a matter of just making sure the environment is clean.
So if you are building in the house, for instance, and you have chipping, sand in front of your house, yes.
Straight up. I mean, non-negotiable.
It's not allowed?
No, not at all. So you have to find space in your compound and then leave your chippings.
You can't put it in front of your gates?
Well, if only it will not obstruct the movement of vehicles and persons, that's fine. Some houses do have enough space in front of their properties. That will be fine. But in some cases, they dump it on the street itself, and that's not fair. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, Lizzie's question is asking for you to explain the scope of these bylaws. We've been going into some of them, at least. We've been talking about public buildings and then residential. Maybe you can give some more for Lizzie to understand. Oh,
well, as I said, the households and businesses are supposed to be responsible for immediate surroundings. It's straightforward. And then we're saying that the dustbins will be supplied to all businesses, all households. So it's a matter of just making sure that your rubbish is in your bin, it is collected, it's sent away. Now, on the principal streets, we will have concrete dustbins this time. Studies have shown that the plastic dustbins don't even last at all. So we'll start a pilot program from Ayi Mensah to the back of Movenpick, and then possibly from Kofi Annan to the Independence Square. So you're going to have concrete bins with bin liners in them, and then we expect that the compassion trucks will be moving to collect them. There will be street sweepers that you see on the street sweeping and all.
Still manual, or now we're going to get vehicles that will be sweeping like we've seen elsewhere?
Vehicles. They've started. I mean, I don't know whether you've seen a few of them on the Ayi Mensah stretch coming to Zongo Junction. The street sweepers. They have. Yeah, they've started, yeah.
Okay, so and it's no longer the women just sweeping?
It's a combination of both, but as much as possible, we'll try and encourage the street sweeping with the machines. And,
Okay. Well, Nato, she's asking what the role of the assemblies will be in supporting businesses and individuals to achieve this goal. Are we going to give any support, necessary logistic, apart from the bins that you've mentioned?
So we are saying that now that we've launched this bylaw, there's about 3 months moratorium or grace period, and then we'll go on an aggressive education, awareness, sensitization.
Within the 3 months?
Oh, yes. Okay. For people to understand it, to come on board. And then we try and get those who need support to be attended to. So it will take effect on the 1st of February.
Okay.
And by then, everybody should have understood it. That's how I want to go about
2022.
it. Yes, we have engaged the AGI, Bankers Association, we've engaged Frontage, GPRT, all of them. But then the assemblies will be going around with their vans, and that's why we are currently talking to National Service Secretariat. They are supposed to second between 1,000 to 4,000 National Service officers to the RCC, and they will assist the Metropolitan Municipal Health Officers, the MEHOs, in going around to educate people. So this whole thing will not just like, all right, we start. No. By the time we get to 1st February, I want to believe that everybody would have understood it.
Okay.
Before yeah.
Well, Gaddafi's question, I think you've been speaking to, the issue about properly training these officers so that there's no avenue for abuse and harass people and demand bribes. What happens when they are found culpable?
Well, that is why we are saying that, and I need to say this before people change the whole thing. They are going to be trained by the military. So we want them to have that kind of mindset. And this is not political. You go to the field, you do what you are told, you go by the rules. You don't abuse it. You don't beat people, you don't collect their food, you don't collect bribes. Because if you do, we will not just sack you, but we'll hand you over to the police as well. Some seriousness, some discipline has to start from somewhere, and that we'll do.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So no bribery, no abuse.
Well, if we have evidence to it, we'll not just sack you, but we'll hand you over to the police. Because you should lead by example. That's why we want them to be given proper training. Obviously, you have a Fabia Mensa, Wumukakra, but I think that as much as practically possible, we want to move away from the Abaye type of, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. So Ifya is taking us to the slow-moving Aboboyas from our highways. We've heard the announcement, but I'm sure you would want to give further details on that. They say it's become a nuisance, especially for those carrying refuse without proper coverings, and they are causing accidents. So
I hinted on Asase radio when I was interviewed. Tomorrow, God willing, we'll have a press conference and to provide full details. Now, under the Operation Clean Your Frontage, all the tricycles will be restricted from using the principal streets, the highways, and others. But what we are saying is that we cannot just wake up and say tomorrow, okay, all our boys stop working. We do not intend to, as it were, deprive them of
their livelihoods.
Exactly. And this is also to regulate their operations and also perhaps to give them the necessary protection that they need. So under the Operation Clean Your Frontage, all the riders and users of tricycles will be made to register within their assemblies. Now the DVLA will come to the assemblies, register these tricycles, give them rider's license, they will be insured. And then the assemblies will also register them and give them the business operating permit. It is expected that they will operate within their assemblies. Now comes the million-dollar question. Most of them have been cutting rubbish. So we have spoken to the waste management companies, and that is why we are giving the grace period. We are hoping that all things being equal, by January, all the 29 assemblies should have transfer sites. So for instance, Ayawaso Central, we already have a transfer site around the corner here, but they will have to probably add some to it, or rather. So you would not want to give an excuse that, oh, you are riding on the ringway to go and dump refuse. You should have a transfer site. Now, whilst we wait for the transfer sites to be built in the assemblies and also the registration and all that, tomorrow we will be announcing the ban of Aboboya on the motorway. And that will give them 1 week. Effective 1st November, Aboboyas cannot and will not ride on the motorway.
Okay, so that would say that they will get a transfer site such that they wouldn't have to use the motorway.
So there are two issues here. At the moment, they can do what they are doing for the 3 months whilst the waste management companies builds the transfer sites for them. But as for the motorway, they cannot use that.
They cannot use the motorway.
That starts effective 1st November. You see, so we have 3 months which they can manage within, but motorway, no. In fact, we're going to add the N1, but we thought that the N1 would not help. Well, most of them have been using that one to Kotoku and others. So I'm told that the contractors are already in town, you know, so we have issued instructions to the various MMDAs to, as quickly as possible, find sites in their respective assemblies and then let us know, and then we'll commence the building of the transfer sites. As I said, by January, the transfer site should be ready. Once it's done, Aboboya cannot give any excuse. So by February 1st, nobody should be moving on any principal streets at all. Okay. If you have an Aboboya, somebody asked a question. So I have an Aboboya, or I go to buy one. Well, if you buy one, find a vehicle, put it inside, and take it away. If it gets 40, get a towing truck, put it on a towing truck.
It can't be seen on the motorway.
No.
So until now, are we saying that even though most of them have been cutting rubbish, taking it from both residential areas and all, and taking it wherever they ought to, they were not working together with the assemblies, they were not legal,
they were
not recognized by the assemblies?
They were, but it wasn't properly regulated. I don't think quite a number of percentage of them had licenses anyway. They don't. So this is rather going to help them because we'll have a database.
How did we set all this well to get to this point before we have to now ban them?
Well, that's why I said change. You know, it's very difficult. But with the determination, the focus, we'll get there.
Okay. But how about the trucks? Those who cut scrap and all that, scrap metals and all, what happens to them as well?
The medium long-term agenda is to stop bulk breaking in the CBD. So one day at a time, we'll get there.
But they are as much of a nuisance like that.
We have been able to move them from the Agbogbolishi, which you know, but I'm aware that they have currently acquired a parcel of land around the Nsawam area. We are still talking to them with the Minister of Science and Environment, Science and Technology. So very soon, they should be given the necessary assistance that they require so they can do their business there. And then the MMDCs are supposed to now streamline how they work in their respective assemblies. So it's going to be a full force in Greater Accra, actually. And the media, I've always been making an appeal to you so that you help with the education, sensitization, and for that matter, the awareness to the public.
Just for clarity, though, the Aboboya is not only used for rubbish. We have some who sell sachet water. Are they also part of this?
That is why I said tricycle. With the greatest of respect, not the business that they do, but it is a tricycle.
Okay. Okay, so once the tricycle, how about the Kambus also? The very small ones.
Well, they are tricycles, so we'll see. But we'll be talking to the Minister of Transport to see how all these things can be properly done. That's why we have the 3 months grace period to make sure that by the time it takes effect, all these things would have been checked. But let me repeat, tomorrow we'll announce the ban of Aboboya on the motorway, and that is non-negotiable.
As you speak, the announcement has been made right now because everybody is listening and watching at this point. It takes us to our next batch of questions. Sophia says, on this refuse carrying tricycles on our highways, is that not due to the failure of the district assemblies to carry out their mandate properly, especially regarding the taking of refuse from homes and other commercial spaces? That's Sophia, and the minister has just been speaking to that. Kwashi says, the minister and his team moved earlier this year to rid the city of wrongful parking in Medina and elsewhere. The drivers have returned to picking passengers in the road. It seems like enforcement has gone to bed on this matter. Is he aware? Kwashi is asking. And General says the traffic situation in Accra has become unbearable. Spintex Road, the N1 Accra to Medina, Adenta, it goes on. Many other roads are just choked. A journey of averagely 15 minutes takes 2 to 3 hours. It is affecting productivity significantly. Is the traffic situation in Accra part of us agenda? General is asking. Kingsley says, what's the sustainability factor that is convincing in this whole project since Ghana's bane has been unfinished projects? We start, but we don't finish. Asabia says there are still significant parts of Accra that are choked due to the indiscipline of sellers and just overpopulation. The Kaneshi and Makola markets, for instance. Does the minister have a plan to fully decongest parts of the city? Asabia. Kweku says, can you find out from the minister what the experience has been since he assumed office as minister, his ambitious make Accra work and the challenges he has faced from those who are averse to the goal? That's from Kweku. Okay, that's this batch of messages that we have. The issue about traffic in Accra, is it part of the agenda? Since you say we can't use sirens, we have to stay in the traffic.
And that is why the traffic is increasing these days. Have you noticed that the use of sirens have reduced a bit? Yes. I don't know whether you've noticed.
Yes,
so most people have to stay in the traffic now. Man, you see, I don't like to make this comparison, but I've seen footages of serious traffic in developed countries. So yes, I share in their frustration, especially, as you said, it reduces productive time and all that. But we are working towards these things, and I don't want to be Mr. Know-All. You know, once you come out as Mr. Know-All, then as if we can solve all the problems in Accra. But now we have found a solution to sanitation issues. Gradually, we'll come up with solutions to. That's why I keep saying that we are working on the Accra Bible. Henry Quarter may not be there forever, but I want to believe that if we have the Accra Bible, that all stakeholders are aware of the content backed by the law, then whoever succeeds, Henry Quarter should just continue with the plan, and the public should also support the person. Yeah.
Do you think people think you are Mr. Know-All? You think you can do it all?
I haven't given that impression. That is why I do a lot of consultations before. In fact, with this decision to ban tricycles on the motorway, I have done extensive stakeholder consultations. I've met with even the leaders of Aboboya themselves. Last Friday, I met with them, and I explained the details of Operation Clean Your Frontage to them, the benefits and advantages that they stand to gain, and they are very happy with it.
How did they take the ban? They are okay with it?
On the motorway, yeah, and because it's not just a ban, we are restricting their movement. And because of the things that we are putting in place, those who are still using ones will work hand in hand with them, but there are new ones that are coming, and then it will be given to them to work and pay. This time around, they will be using a mobile phone, to pay. So we are changing a lot of things, especially with the call center and all that. And then as part of the package, they will get rider's license, they will be insured, and this is all free, kind of, you know what I mean. Yeah.
Is the call center in operation now, or when it's starting?
That's why we say we're giving the grace period. Yeah, within the 3 months, all this.
But it's been set up.
We are setting them up. Yeah.
We're still setting it up. Okay, so it brings us to Kwashi's question also. The team moved earlier this year, the issue about Medina. And he says that it looks like enforcement has gone to bed on the matter. People are.
I very much disagree with that.
Okay.
I very much disagree with that. What I know is that even yesterday I was there. I drive quietly in a taxi sometimes to go and stand and look at it. That's why I say there is an awakening call, and I get a lot of calls these days. See, people are expecting that Medina will now be free for us to drive through, but. Sometimes you get there and genuinely you could see that, look, there's a traffic there. It's not about people using the footbridge and all that. Tremendously, there has been some progress there. And I knew that in the last 2 weeks or so, because then the MC was waiting for his name to be mentioned and confirmed. I think that they relaxed a bit, you know. But they are back on. Some railings will be done in the median. The greenings will be done there, and once the task force even come, I will deploy quite a number of them there. because usually we use the services of the police, but you know that the police are stressed in terms of our numbers to actually deal with other crimes. So yes, we are working on it, but it's not as bad as it used to be, and every day we try to do something to improve upon it.
Okay. Is there a particular role, for instance, that you're hoping to also play? The Pokwase interchange, just recently, we heard about some railings being stolen, the issues about traffic lights, street lights being stolen, amongst others, on the motorway, and the latest is Pokwase, and we have some hawkers already coming onto that part of the stretch.
Some of them are multi-sectorial, and as I said, our mandate is to coordinate the implementation of government policies. We have reported to the Energy Minister to see how best they can handle the street light situation in town. And the issue of the railings and those who were seen pounding fufu, they were taken to court. In the last 2 weeks, businesses around the Pokwase interchange, it's been good, I just say that. And so let's just wait for the task force to graduate. And then from 1st February, I'm sure their activities in town will answer all these questions.
So they started the training already?
They will be starting very soon. These ones were they were drawn out of training because some of them are there. We drew some 50 for the launching, but they will come out by 1st of February and then they start work. Okay,
so the indiscipline of sellers and overpopulation. Asabia is mentioning Kaneshi and Makola markets, for instance. Do you have a plan to fully decongest?
Oh yeah, it's all part of it. But you see, it's nice when they ask the questions like this. And then the other bit is, you do the operations and then somebody says, oh, where should we go to? So we need the public to also come and support us. I drive around, I go to places and everybody tells me, oh, Henry, you are doing well, don't stop. But can we have these comments and suggestions coming out boldly for everybody to know that, we are all in support of it. Let's all get our hands on deck and get it going. That is what the agenda of Operation Clean Your Frontage is all about. We don't want to do try and error. So we are putting in place all the mechanisms and the logistics and make sure that Accra is clean. It's not just one moment there's rubbish here, 1 minute. No. Yeah.
Well, as we're streaming live also, there are questions also for, someone has mentioned Kaneshi and Makola. Some are also asking about La Paz.
They are all part
plan?
of it.
Okay, there's a plan. There's all part
of it, yeah.
Decongesting, not just the sanitation issues.
Oh, decongestion, we've started on the motorway. I'm sure that you've seen it, isn't it? Yeah, we'll be going back to it, yes.
Gradually.
We'll be going back to it. I mean, let's just wait till 1st February. And everything will take shape.
After Christmas then?
That's why we didn't want to do it in January, because I was careful. People would say, we just finished Christmas and then January, this is what they are doing to us. So we allow you the whole of January to put yourselves together, and then 1st February.
January is a month of love, I'm sure you...
It's good to have your environment clean, so you'll be loved.
Okay. Well, Kweku says, can you find out from the minister what the experience has been since he assumed office as minister, his ambitious make Accra work, and the challenges he's faced from those who were averse to the goal?
Well, because we are doing this for God and country, I'm not really expecting anything from it. So every day I see it as a new day and a new challenge. And then we deal with it as it comes. And so, yes, we have come across a few cases where comments have been passed. But frankly speaking, as I said, for God and country. And we get more commendations from the public rather than those who criticize us. So it motivates us, it strengthens us to continue. And that's what I do every day.
Now, would you say your party, for instance, is in full support of everything that you're doing? Especially, when we are gradually getting into an election year, that's when the pressure piles up because it's a matter of votes as well.
We haven't gotten there yet.
We are getting there.
We are in 2021. Elections is in 2024. And let me say that
even in 2020, we had them raise concerns about the actions that you are taking in Accra.
No, but that was then a general secretary who came on the show in the multimedia to say that no, he was misquoted. And I've had the support of the party behind me in these exercises and all that. You had the president the man who gives appointment has spoken. So what more? You know, and as I said, we are in 2021. 2024 is about 3 years away from now. So let's just concentrate. Let us bring our minds to what we are doing, so that from 2022 we'll be able to sustain the exercise that we have done, and then 23, 24 will speak for itself.
The way you are being hailed by everyone, at least we've heard from your appointee, the person that appointed you, for instance, is it not getting into your head?
Oh, not at all. Rather, you have to thank God and thank the people who are commending you. It's a form of encouragement. And let me thank Mr. President, because you hardly hear presidents openly come and then commend their ministers. So I thank Mr. President for the commendation. But no, it is not gotten into my head. Rather, it puts me on my toes, actually. And so to know that, well, Jesus Christ, you can have crucify him. So I'm very careful about these things. No. I don't get carried away.
Okay. So Kingsley wants to know about the sustainability factor, because for him, Ghana is a bane for unfinished projects. We start, we don't finish. What's your finishing plan?
Well, I like the question, but I think that I have said it time and time. We should try and move away from the skepticism, you know. Rather, let us be supportive of it, because what has happened yesterday is different. Today is a new day. And I think that rather let us look at how we can get this exercise to work. And I've said time and time that we are going to have the Accra Bible. So all this is, that's why we've passed the bylaw. I mean, hitherto there was the bylaw to clean your frontage, isn't it? So you do that for 1 month and you stop. But this is a bylaw, and we ensure strict enforcement and compliance. So,
but we have laws that are not being enforced. So
I very much agree with you.
So
that's why we're coming with the task force, and then we'll make sure that we get the bylaws enforced, and then we'll get there. Okay.
Well, there's a concern also about our assessment since we relocated the onion sellers to, in fact, the impact since we relocated them. What would you say has been the impact? At least I know that onion prices have gone up, but I don't know what the other impact you see.
Well, you recall that prior to their movements, they said all manner of things. But after they left, I visited them in the company of the Honorable Danbuchi, Minister for Local Government, Decentralization and Rural Development. And if I should quote them, they said that when they didn't know that they were in hell, but having moved to Ajen Kotoku, now they know that they are in heaven. They said it, I'm quoting them. And they have also told us that business is booming. We were there with Mr. President about 4 or 5 days ago, and they repeated same in front of Mr. President. In fact, they said it in the Muslim, they said they are now in Jeddah. I want to believe that Jeddah means heaven, I mean a good place. And they are operating in a very humane environment. Yes, even in our homes, you and I, everything may not be complete. Every day you want to do something new. So yes, there are a few challenges there, we admit, and that we are working on them.
Okay. Yeah. What exactly are the plans for this particular site that we moved them from? Have we decided yet? The last time we asked, we were still deciding on what to use it for.
No, you see, there's a scheme. There has been a scheme for the last 25, 26 years or so. And that is why the Abosokai mosque was sited there. That is why ICGC built the church there. Because in the scheme, there should be a mosque, there should be a church, and others. Okay. So we are going to work with a scheme. And as we speak, we have got the experts to pick the soil and go and test it for us to look at the toxic extent of toxic nature, what is there, and then the acid content and all that. In the meantime, in about 3 weeks' time, we'll start erecting fence walls there. Okay. Once we do that, then we'll know the depth of soil that has to be excavated. The Minister of Finance is on board. So we are looking at the scheme. Where we have to modify them, we'll let the public know, and then we'll continue with it.
In wrapping up, you were in the media, in the news, for a speech that you gave at a church, for instance, about youth. And since that speech, has anything changed, you say? You really took on your people, some have said. Since then, has anything changed, you say? In wrapping up.
We don't expect change to be done like this. But I think that, as I said, we have been able to draw their attention and averted their minds to their actions and inactions, which is costing the youth. And I think that gradually we are making progress. It's not going to come in a day, I keep saying. And once the awakening call is there, I believe that with the effort and then a collective agenda, we should be able to get there. Okay. It's working. Because I know that the youth somewhere in Ododo have started chasing the big guys and know that, hey, we want you to lead a good life, so it will affect us as well. So it's not bad.
We're grateful. We'll leave it here for now, and we'll be on you and see how we can all keep our frontage clean. That's the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Henry Quartey, my guest on The Probe. You can keep the discussion on social media. A Walk with Jesus is up next for our radio audience. I am MF Fapa on behalf of the entire team. Many thanks for your company. Have a good evening.